I'll finish my survey later. I need to do the Kickstarter survey.
That's alright. Better get those in. So, welcome to episode 0. Episode 0.
Right.
Season 2, episode 0.
That's right, season 2 of Perilous Studios,
The
our
prequel.
game. The prequel to the next game. We're going to be running something totally different this time around. There's a couple of reasons. To start with, as some of the listeners may already know, we concluded the Dun Hollow mystery. Exciting conclusion. Crazy story. Some of us weren't here, but that's okay. A few people survived. Most everybody survived, but the story came to a close. And we were talking about what we're going to do next. And for those of you who are following us on Twitter or Facebook or Google Plus, even though it's going down the drain next year, we decided to do something a little different for a couple of reasons. So we're writing another RPG called Tetsubo. I made that announcement about 3 weeks ago. That's super cool. So it's going to be a Sengoku era Grim and Perilous RPG. I'm writing that in collaboration with Dave Morris and Jamie Thompson. You should probably know who their names are. They wrote the Fighting Fantasy books. Jamie was an editor on White Dwarf. One of them, Dave, worked for Eidos Interactive. They wrote Dragon Warriors. They wrote Fabled Lands. A lot of cool stuff. We acquired that license for Tetsubo. The unpublished Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay expansion into Yamato. We are going to adapt it to Zweihänder rules. We're going to write a loosely historic, low fantasy version of Sengoku era Japan. We're doing a lot of work. We had our kickoff session a couple weeks ago on that. We're making pretty steady progress. You'll probably see some kick-ass artwork by Ken Duque. And that's the reason why we're actually doing something a little different, because this is going to take up a lot of time to write. And when I thought about the next game I wanted to run, I wanted to do something that was a little bit where I wouldn't have to write a lot. I wouldn't have to create a new story. I could kind of follow what was already written, make some changes along the way, and I pitched it to the team and the gang, the players, our playtesters, these people here. And we're going to run Curse of Strahd by Wizards of the Coast. Came out in 2016. You guys have probably seen it several times on Critical Role. A ton of people are running it ran it online. It's a really cool adventure. Being a fan of Ravenloft, and I think several of us around the table have played in Ravenloft in some form or another over the years, it seemed like a natural fit. Plus, I wanted to explore a little bit more of the gothic horror aspect, and a little bit more combat heavy this time around. D&D adventures, as I'm sure you well know, are really a little combat heavy. Fortunately, translation of D&D mechanics as Zweihänder are fairly trivial. So I've done a little bit of work there and made some changes to the story. And we're going to run Curse of Strahd in a different format. But we are going to call this official story moving forward Curse of Tatyana. For those of you who know about Strahd and his long-lost love, that speaks to it. I don't want to spoil anything for around the table because some of us haven't played or read anything about Strahd. But we're going to change the story up quite a bit. So it won't be the Curse of Strahd that you recognize or have already watched or read. It's going to be different. So Curse of Tatyana, episode 0 begins tonight. We're not sure if we're going to actually air this. It's just kind of we always do this. We did this before our last season too, where we did like 3 or 4 sessions that we never aired to kind of get in character, comfortable with each other, the new dynamics of the characters. So what I think we'll do just to start, we'll go around the table starting with Adam, and we'll talk about what our character's name is, what our professions are, and our order and chaos alignment, and then something unique about your character. It's not on the pages in front of you. Something unique about your character. So, Adam, if you wouldn't mind starting.
Sure. My character's name is Benedict Dupre. He is a undertaker that turned grave robber. His order is enlightenment. His chaos is detachment. And see, something that you wouldn't know from the character waves to Nick's character.
That's right. So the first thing our listeners probably recognize is that we're actually starting this game in intermediate tier. Because the first game we ran was basic tier. We didn't want to continue that story because it seemed excessive, right? When a story ends, it ends. This one we wanted to start at a little bit higher level of power. So we actually have all the players go one advance into their next profession. So, as Adam said, he is an undertaker who's recently turned a grave robber. Let's actually move over to Nick, since your name was mentioned there.
Mm-hmm. So, my name is Nick, and I am playing Nigel Tanner, who starts out as a knave, and he's now moving into his archetype is a knave. His first profession is fence, and he's now moving into a gambler. So my order alignment is ferocity, and my chaos alignment is hatred. And the transition from fence to gambler seemed like a natural progression for Nigel, because he tends to press his luck a bit too much on dealings with other fences and other people, always trying to get the better out of the deal, and that's gotten him into trouble on quite a few occasions. But the price is always willing. He's always willing to pay the price to get what he wants.
So the Night Father is your patron god.
Yes.
Right. Which is great. So let's move on. Let's actually ping pong back to Mike.
Alright, my character I'll be playing this time is called Mortimer. Or Mortimer, or Morty to his friends.
Mortimer.
Mortimer.
He's an old-time Mortimer. But he started out his life as an astrologer, and slowly moved into a funerary mage. And so his order alignment is zeal. His chaos alignment is fanaticism. And one interesting thing about him is, so funerary mage are often confused with necromancers. And so there was one time he was falsely accused and actually tarred and feathered.
That's right. That was his distinguishing mark.
Yes.
He'd been tarred and feathered.
Yeah.
Forgot about that.
I'm actually on the straight and narrow. All right, I'm a funerary mage, not a necromancer.
Yeah, he's a good mage, because all mages are good.
I'm a good death mage.
That's right.
So since this is your first time playing a caster,
Oh, yeah.
do you have any thing that you're excited about, or is going to be a challenge for you when you're playing this character?
Remembering all the magic rules, like oh my goodness, like I need to get some of those spell cards.
Mm-hmm.
So that way I can just be like, all right, this is what it does. This is a critical effect. This is that, and the other.
Yeah.
Like I think those are going to be fantastic.
Remember to get creative. That's where it's the most fun.
Yeah.
So Nick is normally our caster in the group for
first-time
Zweihänder.
caster.
He's played like 3 or so at this point.
Yeah, I like it.
time
It's a
with-
lot.
Oh, and where can you get those awesome print-on-demand arcade magic cards, Mike?
I think it's DriveThruRPG.
DriveThruRPG.com?
Yeah, DriveThruRPG. Yeah, like I think if you go there, yeah, I think are we number 1 now?
I think we are. Oh my god, you're right. Zweihänder is the #1 best-selling RPG on DriveThruRPG. We just found out today. So that's pretty crazy.
Mithril plating.
Adamantium
plating.
Yeah.
Yes.
0.033% of products. Only 33 products on the entire book or entire site. Zweihänder is not only adamantium rated, it's the #1 bestseller, the #1 at the top of the list. So thank you, listeners.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you guys are awesome. But yeah, you can buy those arcane cards print on demand at DriveThruRPG or RPG Now if you're a grognard, or just go to GrimPerilous.com. You can get them there too. So shilling's over, I promise.
Right.
Let's move on to Tim.
I am Sir Alfred Clavinger, or Alfie, Sir Alfie.
So Alfie.
That is correct. And actually, Mike and I are kind of a duo of we hunt bad guys together. So that's kind of our little thing together. I started off as a hedge knight and then moved into Cavalier. Cavalier is in the new book.
Gosh.
This is the early release printed. You can get that on the
Kickstarter. You can still order through Backer Kit. Not for long though, so you better get it done quick.
So yeah, it's a new one. We're good, and I really just wanted to play. I'm way better at playing the fighter types.
Yeah.
Tim has played fighter types since the beginning. He played a cleric for a long time in our D&D game.
I did, and I've played other clerics, but
Like a warrior cleric, I'm guessing.
yeah, I played that too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Several.
yeah, but It's just more my style. So,
didn't
but
like playing.
Alfie is trying to move out of his father's shadow and his brother's shadows, because like the Duprees, the Clavengers is a long-running name here in our campaign.
Yeah.
So that is his thing. He's trying to make a name for himself, even though with the name Clavenger,
Yeah.
it's already kind of made.
Yeah, the Clavengers and Dupre both have kind of a sordid history and not always on the same side, so to speak.
No.
But the important thing
Kinda
about one thing to call out here too is that Sir Alfie's father is none other than the Baron Splendid Clavenger, who is oftentimes called the Paladin. So he casts a very long shadow.
He does.
You can light from the front and a shadow from the back. But yeah, so moving beyond your father's shadow and your brother's shadow, for that matter, is certainly important. You are a Black Knight of Landon, which is, in our campaign world, a pretty serious organization of state-sponsored violent men and women in armor.
It's legit.
That's right. And then finally, so you'll notice that Kent is not here; he's not joining us this time around. But we have most of everybody here. Walter is back.
Hello.
Some of you probably recognize him from recognize both him from the previous game and perhaps his character too. She is actually the only carryover from the previous season in this new story. Tell us a little bit about her.
Well, so for those of you who remember the trials at the Mystery of Dunhollow, Krista Wolffeather escaped and actually ended up being the only of the company to have escaped without so much as a wound or a mental disorder or a terrifying loss. She now calls herself Krista Wolf, and she fancies herself a doctor, an alienist, in fact. So something of a crude psychologist who can hypnotize people into doing her will, a trait that she has proved to be adept at over time. So she and her mysterious past continue to wander the war-ravaged world, and she has shown up in terrifying situations, no doubt, once again. One thing you wouldn't know about Dr. Wolf, even if you had listened to the Mysteries of Dunhollow, is that she has sort of sunk into like deep introspection at this point, away from, and she believes she is blessed with great competence, but also like a curse to watch everything around her sort of be torn apart. So she believes that she will sort of skate by this world unscathed, but everything around her will burn.
Like the center eye of a hurricane.
Basically, yes. And she has good reason to believe that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Mystery of Dunhollow kind of ended on a very interesting kind of climax, and the story just was done.
Yeah.
What happened after that? Only Dr. Wolf knows, and maybe she'll talk about it in this game. Maybe she won't. We'll find out.
I don't know for sure, but I like to think that Tuck died because he could never live that down.
Oh man.
No, not a joke every time.
We
Not
need
joke
to,
every
we need
time.
to do we need to do a post episode at some point or a post season on that. But let's actually move on to our story at hand. And as most of you know, in the world of Ravenloft, the characters are inevitably drawn into the world of Ravenloft from somewhere beyond. So our story actually begins in my home campaign world, the world of Bahala. It is winter, the dead of winter, in fact. A thick snow has lain across the ground. The city where you are from has been besieged by a person from the north called the White Wolf. You have fled the city. At first, there were 37 of you. And the first snows came. There were women, children, other rough and tumble people, brought together only by the fact that you had to survive. The second snows came, and you lost 5. Sickness at first, then hunger. Then winter came completely as Candlemas struck. And all that remained were the 5 of you, long, lean, hungry men and women. You have been trudging through the snow up to mid-calf. The day is very, very bright. No clouds guard the light from your face. It shines off the snow as you have fashioned these crude, not sunglasses, but these sort of more or less sunglasses that kind of slant the snow out of your eyes. In your case, Sir Alfie, perhaps your military training has taught you this. You are dead set to move to the west. You must move to the edge of the country of Aglador, between Aglador and Galleon. It is there that your father and brother and family live. You had left the Teeth so many years ago, the dividing area between Galleon and Aglador, with the intention to step out of your father's shadow, but now you must return to his light. There is no other place to go. You must head west. It is the only place that you know is not under siege. You have nothing but yourselves to guide you there. Trudge through the snow. It crunches and drags and pulls at your legs. You can see that your beards, those of you who have grown beards at this point, that snow and frost is kind of hardened in it. Your clothes are more stiff than anything else. A wet snow as the sun is out. It's not exactly melting, but it is a very cold day. The wind kind of whips off the top and blows up some of the dust, blinding you in places, kind of splashes of snow across the way. You're moving along the side of a mountain. You can see its gray, distant peaks off toward the sky in the north. You're moving amid very uncertain ground as the snow is kind of like dappled down the side of the hills. Crunch, crunch, moving with desperation, not knowing how far away the city is you left behind, not knowing how close the Teeth and the settlement of your father is. You have left, and it has been it's been 2 weeks. You know you were lost, but you've been trying to get your bearings as best you can. Who is leading this ragtag party through the snows?
I mean, I'll lead.
Sir
At least out here in the snow.
If it's west you want to go, I can assist.
It is. Yes.
So it'll be Alfie as our guide, and you will be assisting Mortimer?
Yeah.
Who is going to be tending to the camp?
I will.
Okay. So we will have, in this case, Benedict attend to the camp. And then who will strike out ahead of everyone else? Who will stay ahead to warn of danger? You may fulfill multiple roles, but you'll be less effective in them.
I'll strike out ahead.
Nigel.
Nige. Can we call you Nige?
That's right.
Oh my
We need
name
dice.
is Nigel. Drawings.
Am I the only one without dice?
I grabbed my dice.
I'm unprepared!
That's
That's right.
Not prepared.
You're not prepared! We can do some horse boys. So 1, 2,
Oh my name.
3, 4,
Oh, yeah.
5, 6. Okay.
You're Alfie and I'm
Roll
Mortal.
Yeah.
Alfie, Morty, Nigel.
I love it. I love it. Very British sounding names. Okay. You strike out. The terrain is tough. The air is cold. You are bristling against it. Most of you are not even dressed for the season. You probably have managed to scrape hides and clothes from those who were with you before. The clothing of 21 people, or I should say, the clothing of 15 people. 16 people. You have basically cobbled together as makeshift bedding, as makeshift heavy clothes. You look like a band of vagabonds, but who cares what you look like? Survival. Yeah, layering. Survival's important. So what we'll need everybody to do, because the terrain is hard,
Can you throw me some dice?
you'll need to make hard toughness tests. Is anyone here wearing metal armor? What kind of armor are you wearing?
Have some sixers
Ring.
too.
Ring? Oh,
But isn't
you're,
it-
you're fine.
Isn't
Does
it
anyone
sort
have
of-
anybody have a wilderness cloak or any sort of heavy clothing?
I think I do.
Got a
Actually. Well, I
warm
did.
vest.
Warm vest.
Heavy boots and military attire.
Love it. Okay.
I have soft shoes, but I have a veteran's boot as well. So
Oh shit. So anyone
Already
with
lost
soft
one
shoes, with anyone with soft shoes,
I have fancy shoes.
oh nice. Soft shoes and fancy shoes, you cannot add your skill ranks to this test. Anyone who has heavy boots, in military attire in your case, will be able to add an additional skill rank. So basically treat your test as challenging.
Nice.
Sir Alfie.
And this is toughness.
Normal.
It is
I
toughness.
didn't have it
What's the
trained.
difficulty?
It is hard.
All right.
28.
42.
Critical success.
Nice. We'll give you a fortune point for that.
For being super tough.
Yes.
55.
Banging buff.
46 success.
Okay. Anyone fail?
Yes.
Oh. It is cold out.
You might have a second veteran's boot.
Alright. When you are injured in these cases, you may suffer from frostbite. You suffer 9 physical peril.
It's alright, since I've already lost 1 foot, I can't be defeated.
Terrible.
Love it! This is why we play.
I'll be here all campaign.
Terrible.
Oh, I love it. This is great.
He should have a bit of gallows humor to him. Just,
That's right.
Yeah, that's true.
That's right. So,
I have a lot of gallows humor. I actually have a
That's right.
ability called that.
yeah, no.
So it is in fact cold, and in poor Mortimer, despite the fact that he is dressed like some carnival clown in motley, he is still frigid and cold. He actually stops for a moment as his legs are stiffening. He, among all of you, is perhaps the slowest because he does have a veteran's boot. He is missing his foot. He has a wooden kind of shoe where his foot may have once been. Anyone else have any drawbacks? That's physical?
No.
Not physical.
I didn't think so. Okay.
I mean, physical, yes. I have no balls.
Oh, that's right. You're eunuch, but nobody else would probably know that.
Yeah.
That's right.
My drawback says charm bad.
That's right. So we know that Alfie is leading the expedition to the west with the assistance of Mortimer. So you will need to make a hard navigation test, Alfie. And if you've got a. Do you have navigation skill rank?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. And you have one too, right?
I have navigation.
So you may
strength.
assist. That's right.
Yep.
Your test is hard.
Hard. Okay. Nice. Okay, well, I forgot to do this. Okay, so hard. I have a 52%, so that brings it down to a 32, and I got a 13.
Nice.
Didn't need that at all.
I did not, but I appreciate it.
All right. That's good.
I think the sun's coming out over there. We might save ourselves.
I agree.
Let's move that way.
Heading to the west, you follow Sir Alfie because he surely knows the way back to his home, to his steading, the place where
No doubt.
back to the teeth, back to the edge of the realm between here and Galleon. This far out from civilization, the White Wolf and his northerners could not reach you. Your enemy is the wild itself, surviving these cold, dark nights, finding enough firewood that's dry enough to erect a fire on the nights you've been able to. Fortunately, due to your success in navigation, you're coming toward a thick wood that reminds you of something near the teeth. This forest looks familiar, although it is bare of leaves, save for a few pine trees that are their skirts are covered in snow. You must be getting close, which is good.
I feel we're getting close. These woods feel familiar.
Day turns to night.
Wood means fire.
Let us see if you find wood that night. All right, Benedict, you need to make a hard survival test.
Hard survival will be 39. And a 44 will be a critical failure.
Oh,
no.
As you
You have
find shelter, as you head into the woods at night, not only is there no fire or light to see by, there's no fire to warm yourselves, and you all are kind of literally huddled together near a tree, trying to share in warmth. You all must immediately make another hard toughness test due to his critical failure.
All right.
Hard
Tough.
22.
43.
Oh, 9.
36.
Nope. Failed.
37 success.
For those who failed. Cold as the night. Oh, God. 13 physical peril. It is incredibly cold. Not only was Benedict unable to find firewood, he dropped the hand axe in the woods. Lost in the snow. In fact, some of your provisions were left behind too. Your stomachs grumble. Critical failure, bad. But you have been, as you know, Nigel, and all of you for that matter, you have been followed these past few nights. You've heard the howling of dogs in the woods. They need only pounce upon you. This is their territory, not yours. You're keeping vigilance. Hard awareness test.
All right.
Sorry, hard stealth. My apologies.
Hard stealth. Okay. This is going to be a 23. And that's a success.
Okay, that's good.
Wow.
19.
Perceptive and attentive, perhaps out of desperation, Nigel keeps a strict watch as you adhere to what he suggests. He keeps to the edge of the. He comes a little bit further out from the trees where you can see where you had the mirror, the moon as it's called, and the vault of night opens up, and then a cloud in the sky, the stars twinkle, and you can see that vast band of the ruined star kind of crisscrossing the vault of night like the Milky Way. It's kind of stretching from one side to the other. Imagine the rings of Saturn from the surface, but broke up into many rocks. That is what is visible during the nighttime sky. During the day, it is gray and distant, but at night, it is visible like a speckled, almost like a strawberry, kind of a band over the world. You stand out to the night and cast a strange hue of light across the snow. The dogs, fortunately, are gone. But before the time the sun comes up, you wander a little bit further out and you discover a way marker, a stone marker, a road. As you awaken, cold, just the 5 of you, you do not recover your peril condition track because you're in the middle of travel. Nigel approaches. You can see his breath hanging in the air.
There's a road. I found it. Rocks, standing stones, just over there.
It's good. It's good. We're getting close.
It means the gods do not want us dead yet.
Nigel rubs his hands together and blows in them.
Even your breath feels cold.
Oh. Come on up and at him. We'll warm up by moving.
It'd warm better if we had our axe.
That would, wouldn't it?
And we'll,
Duly noted.
Dr. Krista Wolf will step aside while the others are arguing, sort of like as they're not looking, and digging into her own supply will actually, take a dose of her own smelling salts, the last one that she has. Because recognizing that her arms are going numb, and if she can't make it through today, then she will likely die. She does not intend to die here.
So, when you remember when you take a smelling salt, you go up one step on the peril condition track, but you also also gain 1 corruption.
Worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Always worth it.
You break your fast upon the last bit of food that you have. You suspect you have 2 days, 3 days worth of food. You've been rationing it out as Benedict had ordered it first, but your hunger has grown immensely, and perhaps even a few of you have been sneaking morsels of food. If you have snuck morsels of food at this point, I'll let you get up one step on the peril condition track. Raise your hand if you snuck morsels of food. Okay. right. Well, Nigel has snuck a morsel of food, and you may go up one step on the Imperial Commission track. But because you are the party is dependent upon everyone to survive, you will gain 3 corruption.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay.
That's a trade he's always going to
Rough trade. These
Nigel,
folk.
I mean Nick, will always take that trade.
Yes.
So, you strike out. Eventually, you find where the snows are not nearly as heavy as you're out of the hills. You're now in the forest. You find that beneath this thin layer of snow is a gravel road. And that gravel road leads to a village. Within that village, there are tall houses dark as tombstones. This is like midday. Nestled among these solemn dwellings are a handful of closed-up shops. As you search the village, even the tavern are shut on tight. Nobody seems to live here.
I don't know this village, but
Well,
let's search the buildings or knock on the buildings.
find a wood pile.
Is there a common hall? Let's try to find that. At least if we use that, we won't be breaking into an individual's home. We'll be using the common resources for this village.
Let's see if any of the doors are not locked before we think about breaking into any. Wouldn't you agree?
As you wish, but I would much rather use common resources for the village than steal from an individual.
Correct. Common hall should be first then.
You come to the center of this village where the common hall would be. In this case, it would serve as the tavern or a stronghold where people would come in case of war. The common hall is shuttered. It is closed from within. There are no answers to your rappings up on the door. The windows are shut. None of the chimneys billow with smoke. In fact, this place seems completely abandoned.
Well,
anyone who is here has taken any valuables they had. Animals, clothes, food.
I wonder if they fled from the White Wolf. I say we find the... Let's follow your path. The first open door.
Yes.
Let's not destroy property unless we have to.
Yes, and then it would make excellent firewood, but first we should see if we have any luck just turning handles or even pulling.
What difference does it make? The White Wolf's going to tear everything down anyway. We may as well take what we can.
The difference is we have to live with ourselves, don't we?
We have to live first to live with ourselves.
We will. There's an order to things.
Does that order involve a roof?
Yes.
That would be nice.
It does. We try and do the good thing first, and then should we have to, we should try other means.
The haughty voice of Benedict Dupre seems to even chatter, his wooden teeth clacking together as he speaks, with the spittle between his gums and his teeth. In this cold weather.
First, then survival. I believe is what our honorable Dupre is saying.
Madness.
Duty first,
Thank you,
then survive.
Thank you, my dear Claviger.
Of course, sir.
One could tell
Master.
Benedict probably was a minister, so Minister Dupre probably is or just minister would be a
Minister instead of master? Okay.
minister, minister. Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Because you would administer the last rites.
That's right. That's right. A
Undertaker.
little bit bold.
You're gonna have to at this rate.
Yeah.
You come
That we keep having
to
this discussion.
moving between these buildings, and they are still and calm and cold to the touch. This whole place almost feels like a graveyard. And as you begin to approach the first door, Dr. Krista, you recoil your hand in horror. She takes a few steps back away from the stairs, and you can see it. There's a big red X on the door, the mark of sickness.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Well, we know what's happened in the village. Do we risk the town hall?
What is it?
I'll just point my nod my head towards the door. He's an educated man. He knows what that means.
Plague minister.
There is a right side up cross surrounded by a circle at its crux. That means the Southern Cross has been through here.
Plague.
Right, I knew what that is. I just couldn't see the symbol. Are they on all the doors?
It was not on the town. There wasn't one on the town hall, was there?
It was covered in snow. If you cleared it off, perhaps it was there.
Let's spread out and validate if there's any buildings without it. We need to get in. We need to get warm.
Spreading between the buildings, searching around, you find that all of these doors are marked as such. Save for one, Nigel. As you turn away from your companions, they're all kind of spread throughout this village. You kind of call out to one another, just to make certain you all are within earshot, echoing off the cold tombstones of buildings. At this point, though, Nigel does not respond. You do not respond, Nigel, because you were taken in immediately by a fire. You can see a small flame kindling in what appears to be like an iron brazier that's been rolled out into the middle of the street. It is burning with heat. There are logs within it, burning flames. You quickly rush toward it, without even paying attention to the two small figures who are near it as well. Children, warming their hands.
Nigel?
These two children, as you all come upon Nigel near this fire, and it is very inviting. There is one who is perhaps a 10-year-old, a little girl, and she's clutching onto the hand of a 7-year-old boy who is weeping softly and kind of clutching a stuffed doll. They kind of look up and surprised to see anyone else here.
Girl, what has happened?
Shh, she says. Thorn, shh, shh. There's a monster in our house, she says, kind of plainly.
There's a monster in your house. Do you live in this village? Has there been plague?
Me mum and dad do. We did. But there's a monster in there now. She points to the tall brick row house behind her and clearly has seen better days. It's about a 4-story building. The windows are dark. There's a gated portico up on the ground floor and a rusty gate that's slightly ajar. Houses on either side have been abandoned, their windows and doors boarded up. They are marked with the symbols of the plague. This building, however, this house has not.
I'll place my hand on her back and I'll say, some sort of beast?
A monster! Little boy kind of wipes the tears from his eyes. He says, it's in the basement! Mom and Dad put it down there to keep us safe.
Are your parents here?
They turn toward the house.
Gentlemen, lady, do you think this warrants investigation?
Certainly.
This fire is a blessing for right now.
Well,
Little boy is sniffling.
do warm up quickly. Or if the parents are still alive, we should do what we can. No?
What if they have the sickness? I'll try to be not say it loud enough for the children.
Sure.
I'll pull him to the side, and I'll say, whispering. Well, then perhaps I should go in. I have touched many a body that had been ravaged with it.
Baby Walter's inside, the little boy says.
Is the child inside?
He's in the nursery on the 3rd floor, he says, pointing toward the windows up above.
I would not like to go in alone, but I also appreciate your concern for the sickness.
Doctor, what do you think?
I know monsters are real. I know that I'm going to freeze to death if I stay out here. And I know that this is our best chance of surviving another night of this.
Perhaps it's just the time you spent here in the village searching out, but you notice the clouds have begun to fall over the village. A light snow is coming down.
Perhaps my brain is beginning to thaw, but something doesn't sit right with me about these kids. Why are they outside? It's kind of going through my mind. I'm curious about
Roll
it.
a secret scrutinize test.
Okay. I have a 58% chance to succeed. And I rolled a 96, a 95. But I'm going to use a fortune point to re-roll.
Okay. I'm gonna miss fortune
This is
point.
great because I have a couple of things I'd like to try out with my gambler traits, which is luck of the draw. When you use a fortune point, you automatically critically succeed. However,
That's a good trait.
I also have when the dealing's done. When you use a fortune point for luck of the draw, move one step down the peril condition track.
The children are clearly scared. This little girl, who's easily 3 or 4 years older than the little one, who she called Thorn, is trying to keep him safe. He's scared to death. He's trembling, and not just because of the cold. He's actually nestled behind her in her long kind of red skirt. They are dressed warmly. They appear to be of a perhaps born of the gentry, perhaps an upper level burgher house. This home is pretty big. It's a very tall row house, the tallest perhaps on this block.
4 stories, no joke. That's a big damn house.
Yeah,
Children,
That's
where?
posh.
especially back then.
It's a
Why are you
dormitory.
out? Why are you out here in this snowstorm? Your parents sent you out here alone?
Mom and Dad aren't alive, the little boy says.
That Nigel's kind of clams up.
So death has taken them.
Mom and Dad put the monster in the basement, the little girl says. Locked it in there. Walter's still upstairs. I don't want to go back in.
What is this? Your parents have had the sickness. And it's just the two of you then. But there's what
The
is
little
this?
girl kind of nods her head solemnly, perhaps almost emotionless at this point. She seems to have kind of taken on a caretaker role with her young brother, and perhaps the baby as well.
So what is this monster? Is it?
It was in my closet, the little boy says. Mom and Dad put it in the basement where it can't hurt us. But then it got loose. We're not going back inside, she says.
Did you see them put it in the basement?
No,
Did
he
you
says. Mom said it's in the basement. Mom said put it down there where it couldn't get us ever again.
Ah, and how did you know that the monster had escaped? Did you see it?
You heard the chains rattling.
Ah,
Did it have claws or fangs, or was
It's
it?
a monster, the little girl says.
I don't think.
There are many monsters out there. You need to be a bit more specific.
Remember what you said, Sir Alfie. Duty over survival. We're duty bound to save this boy. As I turn around and head towards the house.
I shall go with them. It
The
is-
wind begins to pull at your clothes in the streets.
No.
Let us go.
I'll pick up. Can I find out of the brazier? Can I find one that I could use as a torch?
Sure. Don't take that inside, the little girl says.
If
You'll
there-
burn the house down.
If there are monsters, then
We have lamps. I refill them every night, she says.
where are these lamps?
Right inside the door.
How do you refill them?
Oil, she says plainly. With my hands.
Where does this oil come from?
I think
we.
we've had enough, and perhaps we should get into the economics of this small hamlet at a later time. But I know one thing. There's Babe up on the 3rd floor.
We believe there's a babe on the third floor, but yes.
Do you think this child...
Wally's up there! He, holding the doll in his hand, he points toward the third floor window. Wally's upstairs!
Do we leave these children out here by themselves? Let's just go in.
They seem to have
They
handled
seem to be
themselves
better at
thus
it
far.
than we are.
Yeah.
You could stay out if you'd like, but as I said before, I'm going in.
One thing you've noticed about these children, Dr. Wolf, is that they seem to be born of a northern stock, perhaps better suited to the colder climes. They are a stocky folk with ruddy-looking skin. Without a doubt, they likely are born of Danish blood. This cold would do little, perhaps, for those who live in the north, to chase them away, but for you all, soft-born, Aridane folk, a little different story. Not accustomed to colder climes. But that being said, the children are standing outside, and the snow is dropping quickly, and the wind is picking up. And in fact, the snow is falling at this point where you can't really see. You only see the shades of the buildings beyond it.
Children, I believe we need to go in.
I'm not going inside. There's a monster in there. I'm not going inside at all, little boy says. He grasps onto the little girl's clothes.
I believe we will have to make sure the basement is free of monsters, as so many children need. And then we should also see about the babe. And then perhaps they would be so kind as to let us stay the night, if it is appropriate.
Monster needs to be chased away.
Where will they possibly find the room? I'll say as I look up through the.
Let's
We can't go back in, the little girl says. Not until the monster's put back in the basement. Then we'll be safe. Then everything will be fine.
Then we will do this. We will put this monster in. His name's Thorn, and what is your name, child?
Rose, she says.
Well, Rose, stand close to the brazier with your brother.
I'm Rose Dunstan, she says.
Rose and Thorn.
Pleasure to meet you.
Very clever.
That seems to go pounds.
Rose Dunstan, and what was the other one's name?
Thorn.
I'll say especially as the names remind me of spring as I look around across the snowy hillscape.
Even the chrysanthemums, which will grow in the late season of autumn, are frozen to the vine along the side of the house.
So the kid's name is Thorn.
No,
Not
Thorn
right.
Dunstan.
Dunstan, okay.
Yeah. Thorn Dunthorn.
I was like,
Hey, don't hate.
That's alright.
I was like, there's a lot of thorns in there.
Every rose has its thorn.
Every rose has
One last question for you.
The little girl looks toward you. She kind of takes a couple steps back. She's not sure what to make of this. You sense that there's trepidation.
Why did you leave the babe upstairs? Was it because the monster had escaped?
We heard the monster. I was going upstairs to get Walter, but the shadow was in the stairwell.
Well, then, perhaps we'll be able to scare it away, as,
Monsters don't get scared, she says.
Does this monster sound like any sort of, like, fairy tale creature? Anything from folklore, say?
Every child is afraid of monsters, but
Shames.
perhaps by the age of 10, one would know better. Go ahead and make a folklore test. This test will be routine.
Routine folklore. That'd be a 54. That's a 04. Success.
Oh yes, old mummy grubby Grimbler.
Old mummy Grimbler.
She is a monster that ensures that children don't sneak cookies out of the cookie jar from the larder. Maybe they're referring to old mummy Grimbler.
If only there was a young lord that knew about this. Wesley. Anyway, sounds like a child's tale. Well, let us clear out this. No, what was that mummy? I'm not even gonna try to say that.
Mummy Grumbly Grimber.
Yes, that one. Let's go ahead and clear that out.
I want to hear the mic version of it.
The mummy grubby grubberson.
There we go.
Or old Mario Marmalade Barnblair.
The Marmaduke grubberson.
For the Bar Bambalam. What?
Whoa, Black Betty Bambalam.
So will you
Let's
all
do
go
this.
inside, or you want to stay outside in the cold?
Go inside.
Let's get this done.
All right. A wrought iron gate with hinges on one side and a lock on the other kind of fills the archway of a stone portico. The gate is clearly unlocked, but as you press upon it, it shrieks from the rusty hinges. An oil lamp hangs from the portico ceiling by chains inside. This is where you'd walk in and kind of clean your boots off and whatnot, and you can see that it's flanked by a set of oaken doors that are slightly ajar. Perhaps when they fled, they left the doors slightly open.
Let's find those lamps. Let's get some light in here.
You step inside, pulling the oaken door open, and by this point, Dr. Wolf, as you were the last one in, you look outside and a blizzard has set upon the city. Has set upon the village. The children and the fire are not visible. The snow is so thick. The winds are blowing so hard. They almost shut the doors for you, slamming shut as the wind brings you within.
Well, at least the snow will pack the house, keep it warm, right?
You're inside the foyer.
The children, though. It's
We should hurry. That way we can bring them back inside.
yes.
And if it's getting too bad out there, we might even have to drag them in for their own good, even though I am reticent to do so.
Yes.
As you walk inside this foyer, you can see along one wall is this shield, a little beaten wooden shield, with a coat of arms upon it, a stylized golden windmill upon a red field. And it's flanked by these framed portraits of these stony-faced looking aristocrats. Perhaps the mother and the father? And immediately to your left when you walk inside the foyer. A few strides across the foyer will lead you to yet another set of wooden mahogany doors, smaller than the ones from the portico, but they are flanked on either side by panes of stained glass. Clearly, whoever lives here lives in some luxury. The place feels warm and inviting. Warm perhaps because you've been outside and outside of the shelter. It is chilly in here still, but you cannot hear the wind at all. It is still and silent.
Is this sort of building common for your lands in such a far-off hamlet? It seems rather robust.
Don't know. If I'm being honest, I don't know. What attracted my father's land was mostly just through the teeth.
I've seen bigger and more remote.
Huh.
Very
Sure.
well. The child first, then. You should go up to the
Upstairs?
third floor. Who's carrying the lanterns?
This matters not. I will. I'll start moving towards. Where are all the stairs?
You pass through these mahogany doors that are flanked by the stained glass. Gosh, I'm literally drawing a blank here. The floorboards and wall panels are actually well oiled. Imagine like a Victorian home set with the woodwork and scrollwork along the panels. It is much like that. The floorboards do not creak. They are well oiled. The place feels warm and lived in, despite the cold, despite the sickness. Perhaps the children have taken care and minded their manners and done as their mom and dad had ordered when they were younger. They've taken good care of this place, for it is their home now, while death seems to surround them.
So, before we go too much further, the funerary mage professional talent is called Spirit Sight, and I can attempt to visually sense the presence of ethereal creatures.
Yes.
So, is that kind of like a witch sight, or
A little bit, yes.
okay? So, I mean, I guess I'll be keeping my eyes open, or do I need? It says can sense the presence of ethereal creatures with a successful awareness test. So I don't know when that will apply.
Well, you choose to do it.
Okay.
It's like you would, as an example, like, I'm going to look over those hills.
Okay.
Like, I'm going to look for spirits that may be roaming about in here.
Okay. Yeah, so I'll be keeping an eye out for any sort of creatures or spirits.
Sure.
Just because they said a monster is in here.
Yes. Who will be the first to open these mahogany doors, flanked by the stained glass?
Oh.
Okay. The two stone-faced aristocrats kind of almost seem to watch over these tall, long portraits that flank the shield as you reach for the brass handle and turn it. And it tumbles very easily. And suddenly it opens up into this main hall, a very, very wide hall that seems to almost run the width of the house. It is wider than it is deeper. Immediately to the left is this large black marble fireplace roaring with flames. The heat overwhelms you as you step inside. You cannot help but bring yourselves toward it, shivering, pulling all the old clothing off of you, sending it along the foot of this huge black marble hearth. Fire burns, roaring in here, the smoke going up through the chimney. On the other side of the room is this sweeping red marble staircase that seems to wind its way up.
This is a well-tended fire. Someone's been here recently.
Wooden panels along the walls are ornately sculpted like the ones before.
There must be servants still over these children. There's no possible way they could have built this fire.
Hello?
Your voice calls out, and the floorboards do not creak. This place is well tended to. Nothing. You hear nothing, save for your own voices.
Could we find this child so we can at least get the other ones in?
Yes.
Your eyes, Nigel, immediately turn back toward the hearth. Within the above the hearth, in fact, you see kind of almost within the shadow of it, kind of sticks out because the fire and his light doesn't kind of reach over the top of it. This slender sword, a mortuary sword, not ceremonial by any means. It has nicks and scratches, but it is sharp. It rests upon these wooden pegs. Perhaps it is the father's sword. Its pommel terminates into looks like a windmill, fashioned within the pommel, the round pommel.
I take a mental note of that it's there, but I don't take it since it wouldn't be very easy to hide, and I don't really have a use for it. I wouldn't know how to use such a weapon.
Fair enough. As you walk in, there are a number of doors down here. 4 doors, in fact, not including the staircase that winds its way up. There's a door immediately in front of you from where you walked in through the double doors, right across the hall from you. There are a few others nestled inside of a area deeper within. And there's one immediately to your right, along the same wall, right before you would ascend this sweeping red marble staircase. Where will you go?
Up.
Up.
Let's find this child and get the other ones into this wall.
As you ascend the staircase, your hand kind of wraps around this mahogany balustrade that at first looks a little bit like vines, flowers, nymphs, and satyrs kind of carved into it. But as you begin to ascend to the second floor, you note that it almost seems to turn to serpents and skulls as you go to the second floor. The whole place is deafeningly quiet, save for your boot falls in here. The sound of the storm, the blizzard, not to be heard. The warmth of the fireplace even carries up these stairs, despite the fact this building is very voluminous. It still seems warm up here. You're leaving in your wake wet boot prints as the snow is melting off of you. You have rubbed it out of your beards.
Be careful. Monsters may not be real, but wet marble is. And it can certainly kill you.
Unlit
Thank
oil.
you, Doctor.
You appear to be in the upper halls of the second floor. Unlit oil lamps are mounted on the walls of this very elegant hall. Hanging above a mantelpiece, directly across from you, where of course the fireplace ascends upward, is a wooden frame portrait. The same two stony-faced individuals you saw down below. Two small, smiling children, without a doubt Rose and Thorn, but at a much younger age. Cradled in the father's arms is a baby who is swaddled, who the mother seems to look at regarding with perhaps a slight hint of scorn. It rests almost menacingly above this black hearth, where a similar fire burns. Not as bright, it is intense, but as welcoming. Within this room, there are two sets of double doors, flanking both your left and to the right, leading you this way or that. The stairs do not terminate, they continue winding up to the third floor.
Continue up.
You hear this sound. Before you begin walking, you kind of all pause for a moment, and you hear this almost kind of what sounds like scratching. Or the sound of small footfalls, perhaps. It's coming from the set of double doors.
What was the babe's name?
Walter.
Was the babe's name Walter? Walter?
It was. Or Wally.
Or Wally?
A babe there, but if it's older, a toddler?
We haven't met him yet, so I don't think we can use him by his friendly name. Walter it is.
These... You hear the sound coming from the set of double doors as you've kind of stepped out and you're facing the hearth. Immediately to your left, there's double doors here and there. Same wooden mahogany doors as before, flanked with the stained glass on either side and the brass handles kind of on either end, like almost like French doors. One of those doors is barely open. That's where you're hearing the scratching.
Well, I think we found him, so I'll just go and I'll start to push the door open.
Okay. You walk forward, and suddenly these gossamer drapes seem to be parted, revealing this elegantly appointed hall that is dressed in glass from floor to ceiling. And outside, a storm of such great white, blinding magnitude roars. You can see the snow blowing this way and that, back and forth, almost seeming up and down at times, tearing all around the building. You come to the glass, cold to the touch, the heat of your breath, of your aether, kind of casting a haze. You rub it and look out in the street. You can't even see the street. You can't even see the shapes of buildings. White, blinding snow, a blizzard.
Oh, we need to get those children in. Let's find this Wally or whatever his name is. And
this area is clearly some sort of conservatory, without a doubt, Doctor. There's a large brass-plated chandelier hanging from the ceiling. Upholstered chairs that perhaps Mortimer has already sat within. They seem to line the wall. And the stained glass nearby, to your eyes, seems to depict Beautiful men, women, and children singing and playing instruments. You see no such child. The doctor quickly goes over to a harpsichord. Absent-mindedly, gling, touching the keys. Looking beneath. If the small one was in here, if Wally was in here, you would have found him by now.
Must have been a dog. Or a cat.
Or a rat.
Or something hitting all this glass. I'm sure this would be quite the view on a sunny day as he turns around and starts to walk back towards the stairs.
You know that the chimney in here, the mantle, is not lit. No fire burns within here at all. This room's a little colder. Perhaps it's just the mind's eye as well. You look at the storm outside. You step back outside. You step back out into the upper hall. The other set of double doors are closed. You can either go that way. You can head back down. You can continue your way to the third floor.
I start walking up the third floor
Yeah,
as,
third floor.
out of concern for the children outside. There's only so much we can humor their fear of ghosts.
Yes. Agreed, we need to get them in.
As you
Gods wish to take
begin
the world.
to ascend, you notice that there is a generous amount of dust on the red marble staircase. And between the what looked like fawns and satyrs dancing along, carved in the balustrade, are now covered in cobwebs and dust. The third floor has not been tended to at all. And by the time you come all the way to the top, to the balcony, climbing the red marble staircase to its full height, you come to a dusty balcony with a suit of black plate armor standing against one wall, draped in cobwebs. It stands menacingly, almost as if to greet you, no more further distance than I am to you. It seems to swallow any light that would come from the lamp that Sir Althea grabbed from downstairs. The light just seems to absorb into this black, pitted cauldron-looking armor.
This is a rather macabre turn of events.
I don't know why you would keep your child up here, but
No one has been up here. I'm not saying we should turn back. We should still look for the child, but I'm saying that with all these cobwebs, I mean, even in the crypts I would visit, they wouldn't be growing like this unless I hadn't been them in ages.
This balcony is flanked by several doors. There is two nearest where the black pitted armor rests inside the alcove. There's a set of double doors to the north, further from where you're at, and another door that you peek just barely around the corner. The stairs terminate here. This place has not been touched in ages. You get a really bad feeling. Madam Krista, particularly you. Give me a piece of pizza, please.
Yeah.
Perhaps the children were playing a joke.
Let's go ahead and open the doors.
Just waiting outside for the first stranger to come along in the dead of winter. Half dead.
I do
Just for
not
the purpose of a rib.
understand the mind of a child. We don't get along.
I mean, we all were one at one point. Look on the bright side. Cobwebs mean spiders, and spiders are living.
If crypts and non-living things. Let's keep to the point here.
Immediately, make an awareness test.
Ooh.
This test is trivial.
Trivial. Alright. So my awareness normally is 52, so with trivial, it will be a 82. That is an 82 exactly.
Oh my god. You sense a disturbance in here. You're not sure at first what it is, but there is a abiding sense of coldness, of distanceness, this feels the void. This feels absent not only of life, but it seems filled with undeath. As you look toward the floor, you can see in the dust boot prints. And those boot prints terminate where the armor rests in the alcove.
You see Morty get a very serious look on his face as he takes the... You realize, I guess, maybe now, that he has been carrying this large two-handed scythe in his with him, and he starts...
He plucked it from one of the farmers who went with you along the roads.
And he starts muttering some words, and well, LP, you know that this means bad things are going to happen.
What are you doing? What's going on?
I sense the undead. As I start to cast on my weapon a spell, Harvester of Souls.
Huh? This is a heavy metal album cover. Aren't you?
Yeah, that's badass.
Just myself, a Farmer's Scythe is the reagent. It would be 3+ willpower minutes.
Okay, I don't need to know all the details.
Okay.
Is it a lesser spell, right?
It is a lesser spell, yes. Let me just double check that.
Your test.
No, actually, it's a petty.
Petty?
It's a petty spell.
Your test is routine.
Routine, and I can channel power, right?
You wish.
Routine.
We know what Nick would do.
Meditation.
What would Nick do?
60.
Channel is much.
I'll do 2 levels of channel power. Right? So that bumps it by 20%, correct? So now I have an 88% chance of success.
Mm-hmm.
That's an 86. It's a good thing I did. And then I roll.
Okay. Actually, you don't roll any d6 chaos dice at all. You hear a dark whisper. You gain 6 corruption.
Ooh.
He pauses for a moment, uncertain.
Hey there, buddy.
As he strikes his scythe down. You hear this voice. The same voice you've heard in your sleep. Make a challenging resolve test.
Challenging, normally 48, 38. And I rolled a 99! Critical failure.
What is the deal between you guys?
You are struck with fear.
You guys have not
as this voice from somewhere within sets you very ill at ease. You'll gain 6 corruption again, and 11 mental peril.
There.
Something is not right. Something is terribly amiss. Your studies of sorcery or morphicism are still in their infancy, but this does not make sense at all.
There is something very much wrong with this house. I believe we should leave immediately. We should leave now.
What are you talking about?
What about Wally?
We've got to save this boy.
I don't believe there is a boy. I believe there is a monster. I believe we should leave now. You may choose to stay. Many choose their own death. You might as well.
You're saying that there is no child here?
If there is, may the gods have mercy on its soul. We should leave.
I don't believe there's any house. I say, looking around. I believe there's only monster.
We all lost mind out there in the snow.
No, I'm with you.
What do they call that? Snow? It's a madness. That is.
Yes, this seems like...
I will
I
not
understand hunger has driven us to a point of maybe madness, but... what are you talking about?
I am sensing magic of a sort. Undead things that we normally search for. We have been through this before.
Well, they would not be the undead, they'd be the Hermasti.
Oh, the Hermasti.
We've never been through this before.
We've been searching for them, and, well, I may not have ever had this reaction, because most claims are false. This, I tell you, is true.
If you remember,
There's Hermasti here. We should either fight it, or flee.
Well, there's nothing to fight.
Is the staircase open, or is it like actually like an enclosed, like winding staircase?
It is an open staircase, actually. Would you like to look down?
No, but I am tempted to use my my hammer to try to bash the armor off of the railing and down the stairs, just out into the floor.
Absolutely. Matt, what kind of hammer do you have? I'm sorry.
What kind of what?
What kind of hammer do you have?
I have the the cudgel.
That's right. Yeah.
The cudgel.
She
Just
steps
like a
up
golfer.
and almost like rears up and bang! She knocks this huge like Templars, like Southern Cross Templars helmet off, and it goes clang, clang, bang, bang, begins rolling down the stairs. The rest of the armor clatters over the edge. Makes this huge crashing sound below.
See, nothing to be afraid of. Just plain old suit of armor.
We need to eat and warm up by the fire, I think.
You hear this terrible scraping coming from down below, Mortimer. Sorry, Benedict.
there's something down there. Listen.
I'll take a look down the stairs.
Yeah, I rush over the edge and look over the railing down to the Great Hall.
The armor is gone.
I'll look over at him, then look away.
You see this black mailed glove grasp onto the balustrade as this thing begins ascending the stairs. This suit of black armor assembled once more. Clunk, 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 moving very slowly, methodically up the stairs toward you. And we'll pause here and resume in a moment.
All right.
Show me what I need to do so I can do it next time.
That's fine.